Black Lives Matter supports the murderous Castro regime in Cuba. And this should come as no surprise to anybody who geeks out on politics, who's concerned. I don't want to be too serious, but I shouldn't downplay it either. Um, yeah, I mean, in 2016, when that walking, talking societal tumor, Fidel Castro, when he died, they eulogized him on their web. If I remember correctly, I can't find the screen grabs right now. It was on their homepage. It was on their homepage for their official website back in 2016. And now, of course, on when I someone sent me this yesterday as a text, and yeah, it's confirmed. I believe this is their official Instagram page, and it's going around the news. Black Lives Matter condemns the U.S. federal government's inhumane treatment of Cubans and urges it to immediately lift the economic embargo. This cruel and inhumane policy, instituted with the explicit intention of destabilizing the country and undermining Cubans' rights to choose their own government, is at the heart of Cuba's current crisis. No, it's not. And I'm not going to read the rest of it. If for anybody who wants to see it, it's up there. It's not the embargo. The embargo is not causing uh, police officers to be chokeholding Black Cubans, like I put in the thumbnail. The embargo is not causing the regime to go around house to house. And for those of us who have family there and stuff like that, and we're watching the videos and we're just like, we can't believe anybody would get this so wrong. Like, dude, this is not that difficult to get. Now, the twisted history of the Castro regime supporting the civil rights movement of the United States back when it was truly necessary, and people like Malcolm X, which I don't blame for having to resort to any means necessary. The way the Castro regime, what's the word? They ended up weaponizing that pretty much, but they exploited it. They exploited that. And he knew how to use people. And then, of course, the Castro regime, and I'm going to continue talking about them like that. That's the thing for anybody who is interested in helping the Cuban people. We need to start referring to it as the Castro regime. It is a murderous, despotic dictatorship. I'm not going to call it the Cuban government. I'm not going to call Miguel Diaz-Canel the current president. These are murderous dictators. For anybody who's interested, for anybody who cares. And it's getting to a point where it's like, man, what really can be done? What can realistically be done? As I watch this. By the way, just to tie this back to Black Lives Matter with the Castro regime, or the Castro regime with the civil rights movement of the 1960s with Malcolm X, you will find pictures of Jesse Jackson and Muhammad Ali taking pictures with Fidel Castro. It's in a Life magazine. I just saw it the other day in a grocery store, and I mentioned it in one of the other videos, and I was like, please don't tell me, because it was a Life magazine about the life of Muhammad Ali. And if it wasn't Life magazine, it was one of those, it's one of those magazines about the life of Muhammad Ali, like they have them on the Beatles, and they have all these historic things. And it's just a collection of all the pictures of Muhammad Ali's life and of all the pictures they had to show in there. I didn't even have to flip through it all that much. There it was, Muhammad Ali with Fidel Castro. Like, that's a good thing. Like, that was some sort of a good thing. I understand the confusion that arises. This country's history, the United States history, is brutally, brutally racist. I mean, just the slavery, that's on par with the Holocaust. 250 years, if I'm not mistaken, of that. And then after the Civil War from 1865 to 1965, the Civil Rights Movement with Martin Luther King and the very necessary, that was a whole century of unconscionable, inexcusable, systemic racism. I could see where people get confused. I could see where people, if they don't do their research, yeah, you could mistake someone like Fidel Castro as like he's legitimately trying to help. And then, of course, the proxy wars that he waged in Angola and throughout Africa, which he wasn't doing it for the liberation of African people. He was doing it for oil. He was doing it for favors. His pictures with Nelson Mandela, another person who he managed to like put his arms around and make sure that he, brought him into his orbit. That's how people get deceived. I hope. I don't know. How difficult is this? How difficult is this um, to get this right? To see evil for what it is. And speaking of Nelson Mandela with Fidel Castro, South Africa right now today, I saw on the news whether it was looting or not, 117 people dead in South Africa. And I'm not very informed on what's going on there. All I know is some of its history, the apartheid and all that. To a certain degree, I can't blame people like Trevor Noah for having this resentment towards white people, even though, if I'm not mistaken, his father's white. Blah 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 blah. The bottom line is, man, um, it should not be that difficult for more people to identify bad faith actors, murderous psychopaths. I hope that's becoming clearer and clearer, but apparently it's not. Apparently it's not. Um, there are still people who just they keep supporting Black Lives Matter, and at this point, it should be known these are duplicitous, exploitative, deliberately disinforming activists. That's why I would never want to be considered an activist, and I'm kind of doing that right now, slightly, sort of, from my basically my little studio in my townhouse. And look, that painting that I have back there. Let me see. I got to check the camera and see how things are positioned here. Um, this is what's happening to our country. We're becoming so polarized. That painting that I did of Trump as Medusa. And needlessly, because of all this disinformation and a lot of this disinformation coming from bad faith actors, like the founders of Black Lives Matter. At what point, why is it so difficult for people to see this? It shouldn't be that difficult to see, but I understand why it's difficult to call out because of the cowardice of people and people not wanting to lose their jobs, which is totally understandable. I get it for sure. By the way, look, the irony, it just dawned on me right now. All this red's my favorite color, and I don't care if it represents communism. Don't care. It's communists are not going to take my favorite color. I still love red. Still love red. And yeah, this may seem like it's all over the place for anybody who's listening. I don't know. I'm trying to. How do we communicate? How do we connect with other people out there who are so dangerously misinformed? Because I'm clearly never going to change the minds of the three founders of Black Lives Matter. I think I'm no psychologist, much less a neurologist. I think these are people who are probably actually psychopaths. They have to be. They have their reasons for their absolute resentment of white Americans and all that. That's understandable. But they are so hell bent on retribution, and they're just taking it out on anyone and everyone possible. That's the thing that people need to see. This is retribution. I could almost, like I said, I could understand the Black Panthers. I could understand Malcolm X back then, from what I understand, because things were so bad back in the 1950s. And that was after World War II. That was after you would have thought the country would have come together. You would have thought that finally the racism would be over. But no. They still had these segregated fountains, the segregated beaches. And it's just, and then the sad thing is that that's just the way humanity seems to have worked. But I don't think it has to continue working that way. I don't think it, I know it doesn't. I know it doesn't. We're making progress. And apparently it just takes a lot of trial and error. It takes a lot of blood. It takes a lot of people getting beaten on the street by absolutely undeniably oppressive dictatorships like what is going on in Cuba right now. And today, just seeing the videos where you're just like, wow. It's why is this so difficult, man? Why is this so difficult? For Is there that many psychopaths in society? Is that what it is? Are we just beginning to discover that maybe the ratio of conscientious, good-hearted people versus sociopaths and psychopaths, it's almost at 50-50? I think that's probably what it is in Cuba. I think maybe Cuba has sort of evolved into that, or devolved into that, since the Castro regime took over. And then you had good people fleeing, people who didn't want to murder other human beings in order to fight that dictatorship when they needed to. Because what's going on in Cuba right now, that's the sad thing. For people I've been having conversations about this with, and I've been kind of like, oh, military intervention. And yesterday I was like, man, maybe it's a good idea. No, dude, what's going on in Cuba needs to happen. It really needs to happen. But it has to be from them. They need to fight for their freedom. Freedom doesn't come for free. I'm lucky. I'm one of those lucky people. Fortunately, I was not born in Cuba. I did not have to go to school with the little red. I would have loved the red little handkerchief because of the color red, but I'm so glad I didn't have to wear that stupid shit and be like, "Yo seré como el Che." Not that I believe in God, because, well, it doesn't exist, but thank God I didn't have to go through that. And and that's the thing that now I'm losing my train of thought, because and I kind of want to capture this. I want to capture, like, the effect that this is having on so many people. The effect that this is having on so many people. And I know there's much worse situations going on right now throughout the world. I know there's South Africa, North Korea, Venezuela, which has been going on now for years, just like this slow, smoldering, just, sorry to have to say, steaming pile of just shit that just won't be put out. Amazing that it can go on for that long. And that's what's going on with Cuba. Oh, and by the way, so coming back to that about should we intervene and that freedom isn't free, they need to fight for that, man. They need to fight for that. And will I be able to figure out how to share? Okay, I'm a little bit technically backwards. I used to know how to do these live streams before, but I can't seem to share this on this live stream. And I want to share my screen. Is this a little screen share button? Where the hell is the screen share button? I don't care. I'm doing this. These are two dissidents that I'm going to play right now. I'm just going to, so you can hear what they had to say in Cuba. And they're being, they're on this one channel here in Miami called Cubanos por el Mundo. And let me see if I can play what they have to say.
Hemos sufrido injusticias para todos los cubanos. Nosotros estamos aquí en La Habana y hemos sufrido mucho todo esto que está pasando. Queremos elegir nuestro presidente, un presidente que lo elija el pueblo, no un presidente que ponga ahí supuestamente a hablar por nosotros. Queremos elegir a nuestro presidente. Después de esto, ¿cómo vamos? ¿Cómo va a ser? Ya se mancharon las manos de sangre. Esto no tenía que haber llegado. Esto no tenía que haber llegado.
What they're saying, I'll translate, is that things didn't have to come to this point. Things did not have to come to this point. We want to elect our own president. We need to elect our own president, but things did not have to come to this point. No, they did. They did. And you know what? From this point, I'm going to say this in Spanish in case any Cubans might be watching this. Esto tuvo que llegar a ese punto. Desafortunadamente, tuvo que pasar lo que está pasando ahora en Cuba. Eso debía haber pasado en el 59. Debía haber pasado en el 59. Pero como es difícil para la gente reconocer a los psicópatas como Fidel Castro y su hermano Raúl Castro, esto es porque estamos aquí. Y mucha gente por generaciones han estado haciendo muchas excusas por ello. Yeah, el español mío es un poquito gringarizado y me alegro. Me alegro. Yo tengo un poco más de honra de decir que soy un gringo afortunado. Y no tuve que, perdón de tener que decirlo como así, pero no tuve que nacer en esa podredumbre. Perdón, perdón. Pero se tiene que llamar, man. Se tiene que llamar, se tiene que ver por lo que es. Y es bien fácil, lo sé, bien fácil. Yo aquí en mi cuartico con mis guitarras ahí en YouTube y todo eso. Y es bien fácil yo decir, no, ahí a las calles, como estoy viendo que mucha gente están diciendo eso. Pero es que lo hace falta. Y esta generación, la generación de los cubanos ahora, espero que ellos aprendan, cojones, aprendan. Y perdón, man, yo sé que no tengo ningún derecho de decir esto, pero yo me acuerdo cuando yo fui a Cuba, me acuerdo cuando yo fui a visitar familia allá, y cuánta gente miraban a Fidel, porque ya a ese punto ya Fidel había bajado, ya estaba ya, bien viejo, y una lástima es una lástima que nadie hizo a Fidel Castro sufrir lo que él le hizo a otra gente sufrir. Es una lástima. Y sé de las torturas, sé de todo eso. Lo peor que han hecho ellos es lo que eso se hubiera merecido Fidel Castro por un mes. Un mes. Pero bueno, mi punto es que cuando yo estuve ahí, era increíble ver cómo la gente, cuando veían a Fidel Castro en la televisión, digo, ay, pobrecito, ay, el pobre, no es que ya el pobre. Ese hijo de puta es la razón por que ustedes viven en la miseria que ustedes, perdón, man, no quiero juzgar, pero cojones, ¿qué más hace falta, man? Y no quiero ser tan avardoso, no quiero, es que yo sé que yo no tengo tanto coraje, el ir yo para allá y yo hacer estos videos y yo sé que esto no es nada. Yo hubiera tenido el coraje de ir a la calle, no sé, porque yo me acuerdo cuando yo estuve ahí, yo fui a uno de esos desfiles que lo hicieron y que tenían. Era para el cumpleaños de Castro y él no estaba ahí, el cumpleaños de Fidel. Y me acuerdo que ahí estaba, se me olvida, el fucking otro hijo de puta de mierda Raúl Castro. Y yo me acuerdo que había nada más que una cerca y otra cerca. Y se me cruzó la mente y dije, coño, me atrevo a brincar esta cerquita para entonces correr lo más que puedo y brincar la otra cerquita y agarrarlo. Y obviamente hubiera sido una cosa de suicidio. Ha sido suicidio que me hubiera pasado. Después de la primera cerca, ya, para el carajo, me hubieran cepillado ahí. Porque era una cosa cuando estaban enseñando todo lo que tienen los militares y todo eso, ya, me hubieran cepillado. So, yo sé que no tengo ese coraje tampoco y le doy tremenda honra a todo el mundo que tiene el coraje de hacer lo que están haciendo ahí ahora. Pero, como estaban diciendo esta gente que tengo muchísimo respeto por ellos, por hacer ese video, mientras que ellos estén ahí en La Habana ahora. Esto tuvo que pasar. Y otra cosa que tiene que pasar. Si ustedes quieren de verdad ver cambio ya, va a tener que morir. Ahí es donde quiero tener cuidado con lo que voy a decir, porque es bien fácil. Esto no puede ser un cambio transitorio. Bueno, vamos a ver qué pasa, es que nosotros pensamos diferente. No, no, no. Estos son asesinos que tú nunca vas a negociar con ellos. Nunca vas a negociar con estos psicopáticos. O los meten en la cárcel hasta que se mueran. Y unos cuantos. Esto no es simplemente Raúl Castro y Miguel Díaz Canel y, de lo que tengo entendido, el Cangrejo, que es el nieto de Raúl Castro y la familia de los Castro. No, estos son bastante gente, porque nadie, no sé cómo decirlo en español, en English, nobody rules alone. Fidel Castro no hizo todo eso por sí solo. ¿Okay? Y hay mucha gente que van a tener que, si no están encarceladas hasta que se mueran, tienen que morir. Y es bien fácil yo decir eso desde mi cuartico acá. Yo lo sé, y no sé si esto ayuda, espero que pueda ayudar. No me estoy haciendo que yo soy un psicólogo y un tremendo filósofo y un historiador ni nada de eso. Pero a este punto, todos los seres humanos deben ya saber que hay gente que son psicópatas que tú nunca vas a negociar con ellos. Mira, vamos a ponerlo bien, bien fácil. Adolfito Hitler, Adolf Hitler. You can't reason with that. We couldn't have reasoned with that guy. What do you think we should have done with him in hindsight? Now, ahora que tenemos todos estos años después de poder ver y ver, coño, cómo se pudiera haber pasado con Adolf Hitler y todo eso. Él tenía que morir. Él tenía que morir. Otro que tenía, y la gente con él, Heinrich Himmler, Joseph Goebbels y toda la otra gente. Pero es increíble, man. Porque como él tuvo que morir, también Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong y tantos dictadores. Ahora, es increíble que hay gente que todavía admiran a Joseph Stalin. Hay gente que todavía admiran a Mao Zedong. Ahora, nadie en su cabeza propia, nobody in their right mind admires Adolf Hitler. Y si tú ves a alguien que tenga un autorretrato, un retrato, una foto de Adolf Hitler, tú sabes que algo está, esa persona, they're out of their fucking minds. Anybody who admires Adolf Hitler. Sorry, now I'm really all over the place in Spanish, and I can't translate half the shit that I already said. Here, from this point, I'm gonna try to translate some of what I did say before. You can't reason with psychopaths. And there are the Castro regime, they're not going to come down. You're not going to reason with these people. You're not going to negotiate them down and out of power. There are people that they push others to kill or be killed, and you got to. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it, because it'll take down the video and all the censorship that we have and all that. And I'm hoping that the human species gets a lot better at identifying these psychopaths that we cannot negotiate with. At the same time, we can't have a military intervention in Cuba. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with a military intervention. I don't agree with sacrificing, especially American soldiers who are not Cuban, have no Cuban heritage or anything like that, and much less young ones to go over there. It's not their fight. Sorry, it's just not. And I think from this point, that's where I'm going to stand on this. Now that I'm shooting my mouth off and making videos one after another, no, I'm not for a military intervention. And yet, like I said, it's you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. I'm not for a military intervention, but I would say that those people, they need to be put out permanently. How does that happen? I don't know. Maybe it's going to take, I don't know. It's going to take I don't have the balls to do it. I don't have the balls to get onto a boat with an AR-15 and just in the darkness of night, just go to fucking Cuba. First of all, within a 20-mile radius, they'll disintegrate your boat. Because there's already people, just listening to social media, like there's people who are already like considering that. Dude, by all means, anybody who can pull that off, good for you. There's only so much I'm willing to risk, and especially a fight that it does not feel like it's mine. And once again, the Cuban people need to earn that freedom. It's easy for someone like me who was not born there and who was raised here. I didn't even go to the military when I was younger, but yeah, going back to Black Lives Matter, the whole point, the title of the video. I hope more people see them for the duplicitous, deliberately disinforming, bad faith actors that they are. These are not good people. I think at this point, this could and should be seen as a terrorist organization. and Antifa as well. I don't know how that they have not been, particularly out in Portland and Seattle. How many people? Nobody's watching. And I don't give a shit. I'm glad it's out there. I'm putting it out there. And that's that. With that said, for anybody who does end up watching this later on, please give it a thumbs up. Give it a damn good old thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. I'm hoping my videos will get better and better. My points will become more and more useful to people. And thank you for watching. Oh, wait, here we go. Thanks for watching.